Welcome everybody to another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your host Adam A Dog. Money bags. That's right. We're getting into the games that are and sports topics that are trending right now. So let's get into it. Let's do this. Last night, the Chicago Bulls lost to the Miami Heat. Now, I told you that Derrick Rose needed to have a good game. He did not. Bulls did not win because he did not have a good game. Bulls are kind of stunned right now. Here's why I tell you they're a little nervous. They're a little stunned. The thought of doubt is creeping into their minds. Apparently, in the locker room, they don't have the same upbeat tempo. They are feeling kind of down about themselves only because Chris Bosh scored. Now everybody's talking about Chris Bosh. Let me tell you this. All right, everyone's like, "Oh well, he just scored. It's about time he scored." I was like, "Dude, this is what he was brought in here to do. This is what he was brought in here to do: was score the basketball." I mean, come on, really? They act like this is new to him. Oh my God, he didn't. He just scored. The big three. He didn't know where to fit in. No, he knew where to fit in. He was a role player. He was a third option. He knew he wasn't the go-to guy anymore. But what happens is if you shut down option one, option two needs to come through. If you shut down option one and option two, option three needs to come through. That's exactly what Chris Bosh did. In the first game, he was supposed to be the man. He did not rise to the occasion. That's why I lost game one. In game two, obviously it was Miami, LeBron James coming through, and now Chris Bosh coming through. That's what when you have three superstars on your team, or at least two superstars and one good player, you you have to defer some of your touches to those players, as well as they will defer some of their touches to you. So just take it like that. You need to as a player on Miami, you need to understand what's going down. So we before we continue on, we have a couple questions. Um, One's from Joe. Joe asks, "What's the deal with the Bulls?" Well, the Bulls, like I just said before, are having some doubt. Are having some doubt about where they should be because their defense is working to a degree, but they're still losing the game. And sometimes it's hard to overcome talent. Straight talent sometimes outweighs defense or whatever you put out there. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just have so much all-world talent on the floor that it's just too hard to overcome that team. Or maybe that's what the Bulls are into right now because their defense is hurting. But I think it has a factor to do. A little bit of Boozer being injured, a little bit of Rose being out of sync with his team. Probably just tired. Probably just flat out tired. I'm sure he'll regain it. He's probably in a little bit of a slump right now. When you get into a slump, it gets into your head. It's kind of like in baseball when a hitter's in a slump, he needs that. He starts pressing a little too much and starts going after pitches he may not normally go after. Rose is doing shots he normally might not take. So you know what I mean. So he might be pressing a little bit. So Joe, to answer your question, it's a host of it's a lot of questions, not just one. Um, you know, the Bulls could be, mentally they haven't been here. Wade has been here. The team, Miami has had people on different stages of their career in the playoffs. It's the first time these guys have been on the big stage, and now the microscope is really on them, and the bull's eye is on their back. So this could be a little bit that could be a little bit of a factor. My next question is from Rob. Rob, you ask, how can the Thunder overcome? Like I said before, the Thunder are not necessarily in trouble, but they have a lot of games at their house right now. Now, right now, I told you that Dallas is not afraid to win on the road. They're not afraid to win on the road. They already beat LA on the road in two games. They're in a hostile environment, and heck, maybe it's just their time. Maybe it's just their time. I was looking at the rosters of both teams, and OKC has the firepower to do it again next year. That's what they do. They have the firepower to do it again next year. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tonight. They're not out of it. They're not out of it. Although every it's 75% of the stats say if you win Game 3, you're going on to the next round. So this is Game 4. We'll see what happens. It is a long series. I think it'll be a drag out series. At least go to 6 or 7 games. Probably 6. Hopefully 7. Because if there's 7 at that point, you can always roll the dice. You want to always go to a 7th game because now both teams are backs against the wall. Every possession is critical. There is no tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Tonight is a big game for the Thunder. I look for them to put it together and come out with the victory. As for the Bulls, doubt is creeping into their minds. It's tough. It really is tough when doubt's creeping into your mind because that is a big factor of what could really push you over the top. The mental state. Now we're gonna get into a little MLB action, but first we're gonna talk a little bit about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins have a great series right now, 2-2. Boston, like I said, Boston. Remember that thing, doubt. Remember doubt. Doubt is creeping into Boston Bruins' minds because last year they were up a couple games or up 3-0 on to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia came back and won. So they're tied 2-2 right now. This is why you play the playoffs. That's why you don't anoint a winner. That's why you got to play these games. So Tampa Bay Lightning, you go get yours. Go get yours. Go take control of the series right now. Keep that doubt in the back of the Bruins' minds. Boston fans already know. They're already a little doubt. The first team of basketball got kicked out. The Red Sox are on a streak right now. They're over 500, so they're happy about them. You're the last ones left. Let's see what you guys can do. Let's see what you guys can do. Boston, you might be in trouble, boy. You might be in trouble. Don't sleep on the Tampa Bay. They got there for a reason. This is why I love the tournament, the playoffs, because you never know what's going to happen. You can't predict this stuff. It's like the weather. It's unpredictable. It just happens. It just happens. Whether or not you can forecast it, you can say this may happen, but 9 times out of 10, that's not really going to happen. All right, so keep watching. That series is going to be on fire. As far as the San Jose Vancouver Canucks series, I hate to say it again, San Jose choking again. Normally you're in this position, and every year you've been in this position, you've choked. So I don't see why you wouldn't choke this time. Let's go over to the MLB real quick. Let's talk a little Yankees. Mets. Yankees won the game 11-3 after they just opened up a can of whooping on the Mets in the 7th inning. They just Granderson, A-Rod, Jeter, all of them coming through with RBIs or big hits, and basically the Mets collapsed. Now the Mets owner basically calling out his star players. You don't ever call out your star players. I mean, you can if you want to, but there'll be a little bit of backlash coming with it. The backlash was he called out his players saying Beltran is not the same guy he was. Reyes is not going to get Carl Crawford money, and David Wright is not a superstar and shouldn't have been paid like one. Well, guess what? You made that decision. Those are the core guys in your team. There's better ways to light fires under their bellies than doing that. They're all going in there. They're playing hard. The team's struggling. You know what I mean? It's not just those guys. I mean, they're supposed to lead. That's how it goes. But this is a different animal. This is baseball. There's ups and downs. It's a long, long season. So this is really a touchy subject because if you are an owner of a team, where does the line go? You have Dan Gilbert over in Cleveland running his mouth, Mark Cuban running their mouth. These guys watch the game. They don't play the game. They don't play it. They're not sitting there swinging a bat. They're not. So maybe they did in the past, but the game is different then. A lot of distractions happen now. Why don't you do like the undercover boss thing and sit there and just sit in their shoes? And you're going to call them out to New York? This is New York. You can't call anybody out in New York because what happens is when you call somebody out in New York, it spreads like wildfire. Everybody's going to ask you the questions. Now you've already built more distractions on top of their problems already. Good job. Good job. And the owner's not squeaky clean either. He's got some troubles he's going into with the Madoff case and things like that. So, man, when you do something wrong, you can't just call people out because they ain't playing. And Mets, man, I would hate to be a Mets fan right now. Everything's going haywire. My last couple points, we're going to talk about the NFL. Right now, the hottest topic right now in the NFL is Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis having a conversation with a reporter telling him about the NFL lockout and how it will affect everybody. You know what, Ray? You're absolutely right. The fact that no players are doing what you said and just coming up to the guys and like, let's get this done, is right. Ray Lewis basically said that a lot more people are going to be affected than just the players and the owners. He's going to say the fans, the walk of life that people have. He was talking about some crimes. I don't know why he was talking about crime, but he said crime rate would go up because there's nothing to do. I think to a degree he's right. Except maybe on the crime part, that's a little weird, but he's right. He's right. More people need this game. People live this game. Not only do people live this game, but there are jobs at stake, livelihoods at stake. Now we're talking about players. We're talking about real life human beings, everyday people. Day in and day out workers who need the money to go and live. They don't have the stuff that the players get, or the owners with luxurious cars, luxurious homes, and eating lavishly. These people are eating paycheck to paycheck and doing whatever it is they can to basically live. And you're going to try to take that away from them. You can't do that. So NFL, wake up. You got other things going on besides yourselves. Put the ego down. Get this thing together. You got a golden goose. If you want to slay the golden goose, then by all means do it, because it's not going to come back the same if you do. And you know this. I know this. Everybody in the United States that follows football knows this. You don't have a season. Goodbye, golden goose. Good luck. You've seen what it's done to many other sports, the NBA, baseball, and hockey. You've seen what it's done to them. You have now risen to the top. You're the cream of the crop. You're rising to the top. You're here. Do you want to fall back to the bottom? I don't think so. I know fans will come back, but we can't forgive that easily. Before we close my show out, we have to touch on what Noah said. Noah said some things to some fans that were inappropriate, and I feel like sometimes frustration gets to players, but you've got to have a cool head. And this is why I think the Bulls are in trouble, because when you have guys like Noah, who is a fiery defender, yelling at fans, saying certain things, this is not good. The state of the Bulls, you are in trouble. Doubt is starting to creep into your mind. You got players saying things they shouldn't have said. Now, he apologized. They always do. PR move. Always apologize. But who knows where they are. Who knows if that will affect him in the game, especially since he's in Miami. They're not going to forget it. Fans don't forget. And we use whatever fuel that we get in the fire. That is fanhood. All right, folks. That's the end of it. That's it. We got one last question for you. What are you going to do when Costas Mania runs wild on you? I'm the Don Juan Sports. I'm out.